Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out to our spring instrumental concert. This is Orchestra. That was America by West Side Story. Featured a lot of great percussionists, Rachel on viola, Anna and Lizzie on violin, and everybody doing a nice clave pattern. I like the clave, so there was no way I was not going to play the clave on that. Sorry, kids. I love my clave. The next piece is something that, as a young orchestra director, I always dreamed of having an orchestra that would someday be able to handle real orchestral literature. And the piece we've been working on since, what, February? When did I throw this at you and say we're doing this? March? March. Not a lot of time. It's the first movement of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. What's great about this piece is that everyone knows it. And what's terrible about this piece is that everybody knows it, so you can't screw up because everyone will know. There's a lot of challenges in this piece. It's in the key of C minor, which for violins means you get only one open string and you never get to play it. And it's been really challenging. Beethoven was a genius, and his music is hard. And but you know, these students, your warriors, really rose to the challenge, and I'm really so very pleased with what they did. This is the real thing. This is what Beethoven intended with the instrumentation that he intended, and we're doing it at Lincoln Way West tonight. I'm excited.
All right.
So, I hope you're excited too. I was not looking for applause. I promise. I'm just really, really jazzed about this, about what's about to happen. So, brace yourselves. It's Beethoven, for real. Okay. I'm into that, this thing. was fun. I'm sure each of them would have liked it. Probably wouldn't have been able to hear it, but I'm sure. Sorry. Too soon. It's been 200 years. Our last piece is Selections from Phantom of the Opera. Before we do that, I would like to recognize there's a couple of people who were missed in our program. A couple of people who were added. They're not here. And I did want to make mention of our seniors, Gabby Tate-Pullett and Lisa Lynn Gorman, who are definitely here tonight. And also we have a couple of our Central friends, Peyton Nielsen, Amy Smith, and Haley Malak. They couldn't make the concert at Central, so they are filling in tonight and doing a great job for us. Thank you so much. You're in the program, Danny. Relax. Yeah. We cannot miss, nor we can forget Danny. Danny's here. Okay, so this is Selections from Phantom of the Opera. How many of you, show of fingers, seen Phantom of the Opera, heard of Phantom of the Opera, obsessed with Phantom of the Opera? Oh yeah, we're doing all the music from that. Apparently, the Tate-Pullets got married to one of the Phantom of the Opera songs. Where are you, Mr. and Mrs. Tate-Pullett? Are you somewhere? Yeah. Hi! We're going to play your wedding song. We're very excited. I was asking if you're going to wear your wedding dress, and they said no. That would have been weird. Yeah. And awesome at the same time. This is me just killing time while they get set up. This has been, every year is kind of a journey musically for us, and every year I'm so delighted that the West Orchestra just goes a little farther down their journey. And I'm just so delighted to start my day here at West in the morning with these fantastic students who are always willing to just try. And I think that's part of the journey, is just continuing to try. They usually trust me with repertoire, usually. We have a really great time, we learn a lot, and it's a really nice camaraderie. We'll talk more about seniors later, but we'll certainly miss them. They've been part of our journey as well, and now we have to go on without them. That was dark. We wish them well, and this is a nice fitting way to end a very, very fun and fulfilling year of music here in the Lincoln West Orchestra. So please enjoy Phantom of the Opera.